All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, this entire Magic Johnson narrative is so hilarious to me because it's so transparent. It's very obvious that the reason why he appeared as if he was resigning is because either Jeanie Buss put him in the precarious position where he felt so disempowered that he was urged to quote unquote resign, or secretively Jeanie Buss told Magic Johnson to step down. She basically fired him and gave him the little bit of dignity that he had left by being able to approach the media and make it look as if he was resigning so that he could try to quote unquote save face in his eyes. Either way, it reminds me of the story of The Godfather, and Magic Johnson will be playing the character of Frankie Pentangeli. For those of you brothers who've seen The Godfather saga, part 1 and part 2, basically it details the rise of a mafia family led by the patriarch Vito Corleone. And in order for his family to remain on top, they had to maintain the facade that they were selling olive oil, when in reality they were dealing in nefarious business. Now, as Vito Corleone's enterprise starts to get muscled in by the competition, they want him to start to utilize other means to make money, particularly selling drugs. Vito does not want to get involved in selling drugs, so a war is declared on the Vito Corleone crime family because they're getting in the way. Well, in the process of the father being removed, the new patriarch is the son Sonny, but Sonny's not right for the leadership because mentally he's unhinged. He has an anger management problem. The real son that Vito wants to rule the family is Michael, who's cold, he's calculating, he's extremely intelligent. The issue is that Michael wants the family's criminal enterprise to survive, but the only way that it can survive is by going clean. He wants everything to go legitimate. Now, after Michael's able to remove the heads of all the other families who targeted his father, he goes about trying to make sure that the Corleone crime family can now become a legitimate business. That angers many of the partners that Vito had in the past. One of them being one of his lieutenants by the name of Frankie Pentangeli, or Frankie Five Angels. So Michael Corleone is brought before a congressional hearing because they want to make sure that they can bring the Corleone crime family down to its knees. And they actually want Frankie Pentangeli to testify against his former business partners, the Corleones. Michael understands that this is going to transpire, so what he does is he flies Frankie Pentangeli's brother over to America from Sicily, and he lets him know that if you testify against us, we're going to kill your brother. And on top of that, while Frankie Pentangeli is in custody, Michael sends his consigliere, his emissary, over to Frankie Pentangeli and tells him, you know, in ancient Rome, when a certain notable figure was disgraced, he would kill himself rather than be put in a position where he would have all of his nobility taken away, so that at least after his death, his family could have, you know, the inheritance of his lands and his money, so on and so forth. So Frankie Pentangeli slits his own wrist and kills himself. And that's the position that Magic Johnson was put in. He was put in a position that in order to maintain the facade of the Laker mystique, he had to fall on the sword because he was not intelligent enough to do the job that he was asked to do. And that's the elephant in the room. There's no disrespect to the brother Magic Johnson, but I've told you guys this. I told you guys this a very long time ago. They try to act as if Magic Johnson is this great businessman and he wants people to think that he's this great businessman. What he actually is a mascot. That's all he's ever been. It's no disrespect to the brother at all. He's one of the top 5 greatest NBA players to ever play. Top 4 on my list. And as I've always stated, there's an argument that you can make for him being the greatest basketball player of all time. You can certainly make that argument. You wouldn't win, but you can make that argument. But everything else that he's ever tried his hand at, he's failed miserably. He's even failed miserably as a father. Now, a lot of people might not like me saying that, but for you to have a son that goes out in the street dressed like that, looking like that, you failed as a father. He failed as a talk show host. He failed as a coach. He failed as a broadcaster. People forget he was a broadcaster on NBC. He was terrible. He was a broadcaster on ESPN twice. He was terrible. They actually tried to bring him onto the TNT set and have him be the third guy with Kenny and Charles Barkley back about 10 years ago. People forget about that. He was terrible there. So everything that Magic has done has been a failure, other than him having an ethereal career as the greatest point guard of all time and being the greatest mascot / ambassador for businesses of all time. That's why his Jewish overlords always reward him with a good check in his bank account. When he says that he's running Starbucks and he's running Magic Johnson Theaters, they just put his name on it. Behind the scenes, I promise you, there are some Jewish overlords running his business enterprises. But because he follows his instructions to the T, they make sure that he has a good check put in his bank account. And that's all it's ever been about. When he decided that he was going to involve himself in the Laker front office, he stepped into something that he was not going to be able to step himself out of. He stepped into the real corporate world. The real corporate world that involves backstabbing, backbiting, rumor mongering, and CYA, and cover your own ass. And in that world, he don't have any understanding of that world because he's not the best in that world. In the basketball world, people are going to look out for him because of what he brings to the table. In the business world, it's dog eat dog, and the lower your morality, the better you'll be. So Magic Johnson cannot fuck with Rob Pelinka when it comes to that. At the end of the day, I don't care how much you smile. I don't care how comfortable you make people feel around you. All that shit means nothing. Jeanie Buss let him know, I'm choosing Rob Pelinka over you. I'm choosing Luke Walton over you. That was the biggest indignity of anything. They put Magic Johnson in a position where he had to, quote unquote, step down or act as if he was stepping down, because in my view, he may have gotten fired, or maybe he just got put in a position where he felt like he was going to be so powerless that he had to step down. Either way, he had to go. And then 2 days later, they fired Luke Walton anyway, when it was obvious that the reason why he was so upset is because he wanted to fire Luke Walton. They basically told him, we know that Luke Walton's not good enough, but we think that Luke Walton is even more valuable than you. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
So last night, one of the strangest moments I can remember in the NBA in the last decade, and that's saying something. Magic Johnson sauntered up to a reporter scrum inside Staples Center before the Lakers' final game of the season and resigned. He told us that the Lakers owner...
Resign should be in air quotes.
Lakers owner, Jeanie Buss, had no idea that he was quitting.
Sure she didn't. Sure she didn't. She knew the position that she was putting him in. It's like if you with a girl and you don't want to get married, and the girl says, either we're going to get married or I'm going to do me. You already know that you're not going to get married, so you already know what that means. You guys are not going to be together. She does not have to say, I don't want us to be together anymore. If she lays out a certain scenario and you know that you're not going to conform to that scenario, you know what's going to happen. When Magic Johnson spoke to Jeanie Buss in whatever meeting they had, and he said certain things that he wanted to get accomplished, and she let him know what the real deal was, he knew that he was no longer necessary to that team because he was not going to be involved in any decision making in the future. And Rob Pelinka was making him look bad. He was making him look bad. And behind the scenes, you know who was also involved? Mr. Kobe Bean Bryant. You know why? Because Kobe gets on TV and talks about how much he loves Magic. Yes, he loves him as a basketball player, but he does not love him as an executive. Kobe Bryant is the type of person that whatever he gets involved in, he's going 100 miles an hour. Magic Johnson is the type of guy that he goes 100 miles an hour when it comes to basketball. But for everything else, he thinks that a wink and a smile is going to get the job done. And that's not going to get the job done. And I'm sure that Rob Pelinka was communicating with Kobe and letting him know, this guy is not coming into the office at 5 a.m. like I am. He's not coming into the office at 5 a.m. like you are when you get up to write your books on witchcraft. And Kobe said, oh, yeah? Well, you know what you got to do. Because if Magic is not putting in 100%, he's going to make you look bad. So you know what you have to do. I'm sure that Kobe and Rob Pelinka had conversations along that vein. And I'm also sure that Kobe Bryant contacted Jeanie Buss directly and inquired about what was going on with Magic. I'm sure that that is what was going on.
This was another huge blow for an LA team that's had a disaster of the season. So you won't be surprised that even after his press conference, I had a few more questions for Magic. He was nice enough to speak to me one-on-one. Take a look.
You just shocked everyone. Did you see everyone's faces when you stood up there and said that sentence? And said, I am stepping down as president of basketball operations?
Magic was so desperate for attention. That's what that press conference was about. Magic was just desperate to let everybody know that he was not going to allow Jeanie Buss to treat him like how he felt like he was being treated. He realized that all he was a mascot and a liaison between the Lakers and the Laker fans. He actually thought that he was going to be allowed to run the show. and he was being watched and monitored by Rob Pelinka. And that was a true insult to him. He was like, you're going to allow this guy to one-up me, to tell me what to do. And Jeanie Buss basically said, yes, I am, Magic.
Do you feel like a weight's been lifted off you?
Yeah, because you never want to let my sister down.
Right.
Bullshit. How the hell you never want to let your sister down, but you're going to have a public press conference and you did not even tell her that you were quitting beforehand? What that's really about, Magic, is that you're trying to maintain your fake nice guy image. And you're scared to death about that ESPN report that was going to reveal how you really are off camera.
Or the Laker organization down. But at the same time, I was letting myself down by not being Magic Johnson.
Right.
So,
well, what does that really mean? You were letting yourself down by not really being Magic Johnson. So what you're actually saying is that you understand that you're not really built to run an organization. And yet you want everyone to believe that you're this great businessman. And let me say this, brothers. When I mentioned the report that ESPN is working on and how they're going to reveal how Magic really is, in order for you to be a success in life, you do have to be hard. You have to be hard around the edges. That's just a necessity. You cannot be a great success in life and be soft or be weak. My point is that Magic wants everybody to think that he's this fuzzy teddy bear. And in reality, he's a hard liner when he has to be. Now, does he go overboard? Who knows? Who knows what that report is going to reveal? Either way, I think that he wants to run away from this situation before that report or that story comes out, especially in light of how the Lakers have failed. And I've already stated that the mainstream media was going to try to focus as much energy on him to take away from LeBron James. Dave McMenamin already was hard at work trying to write reports talking about how the Lakers have failed LeBron in his first season. You cannot talk about LeBron James when it comes to the liberal sports media. They're going to find a way to divert attention away from him over to somebody else.
So this
is more proof that anywhere that LeBron James goes, it becomes a toxic atmosphere. The toxicity even drove Magic Johnson away from the Lakers. I mean, damn.
A decision I had to make between the last couple of days, but today it was just that, you know what, I got to go back, and I'm going to be happier if I'm just back to being Magic Johnson, doing the things I love to do.
Do you think you owed it to Jeanie to tell her first?
I wouldn't be here doing this.
What? She asked you a question. She said, do you think that you owed it to Jeanie Buss to tell her first before you told the media? And then you said, I wouldn't be here doing this. It's a yes or no answer, dude. In all reality, the reason why you held the press conference is because you wanted to embarrass Jeanie Buss. That's why. And that's why you call her your sister, because brothers and sisters, they have disagreements and sometimes they throw tantrums. And they want to see who can run to mommy or daddy first to get their version of the story out.
Because I know her, we would have cried and I would have felt guilty and I would have stayed.
So you told us first because you didn't want her to talk you out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Grown ass man, 50 plus years old, talking about he would have cried on the phone with Jeanie Buss. Give me a fucking break. Let's knock it off, man. Was you crying in that meeting when she told your ass that Rob Pelinka had power over you?
And she can understand that.
Do you feel that you are leaving Jeanie or the Lakers or LeBron in a lurch a little bit?
No,
that you
no.
said you were going to be here for at least another year?
No, I think that, LeBron signed because he saw.
LeBron signed because he wanted to come out to Hollywood, make sure that he could fulfill all the rest of his rituals with his Kabbalah overlords, and therefore he can sign all the entertainment deals that he wants to. Once he gets into them dark rooms with them old Jewish men and does what he has to do with them.
He saw that the Lakers would build something special. He could be a part of that. He can still.
Oh, please. LeBron came to the Lakers because he saw that they were building something special. That's why he tried to trade half the team, right? Get the fuck out of here, Magic.
He's still going to be a part of that. I think that the Lakers are in a good position.
Really? What position is that? Asked out?
She'll hire somebody good.
Like who? Who's she gonna hire? Tyronn Lue? That man has to make sure that if he signs that contract, he reports to the Lakers with a whole barrel full of Tylenol. to make sure that in case he has a heart attack on the sideline, he has something to alleviate the issues that he's going to have. Because we know what coaching LeBron James did to him the last time. The brother had all type of tubes coming out of him the last time he tried to coach LeBron.
And the Lakers are still, I think, have a good offseason because we're 1 or 2 players away. Team up.
1 or 2 players away that most likely do not want to play with LeBron James.
Team up with LeBron, with all the young pieces around him. We're going to be back in the Western Conference Final next year if the right player comes.
What? Oh, my goodness. Magic Johnson, brother. I thought the crack epidemic ended in the early 90s. I mean, shit, what are you smoking, brother? Knock it off. It was the conference finals. You guys got to try to make the playoffs next year.
And then the right role player comes.
You said that Jeannie means so much to you. She's your sister.
Yeah.
You said you didn't want to disappoint her by having to make a decision about Luke that you knew would make her unhappy.
Magic said he didn't want to disappoint her by having to make a decision about Luke that he knew was going to make her unhappy. And then Luke Walton gets fired a couple of days later. So what does that tell you, brothers? That tells you that Jeannie Buss wanted Magic Johnson out. That's why I say it would not surprise me if she spoke to Magic Johnson in that meeting and let him know, Magic, I think that it would be best if you no longer work for it, especially if you're going to have this many issues with Rob, with Luke, etc. And then after that, she already knew that Luke was going to go, but she wanted Magic gone first. That's why I believe that, once again, she probably told Magic, you're fired. I'm going to give you the opportunity to go in front of the media and act as if you're falling on the sword. Or at the very least, she put Magic in such a position where he knew that he was going to be rendered so impotent as a team president or whatever his title is that he might as well fire himself.
When you guys had meetings the past few days,
She gave me the power.
Okay.
Allegedly. She gave you the power to fire Luke. So you fired yourself because you didn't want to fire Luke and hurt her feelings. And then 2 days later, Luke gets fired. I got you.
That was yesterday. She gave me the power. And so, but you have to remember, she loved him. She loved me.
I tell you, boy, Magic Johnson, he's one of the biggest clowns in the basketball world right now. She said she loved him, she loved me. But you fired yourself and they fired him.
She was in a tough spot no matter what.
Were you preparing her?
So you decide that you're going to hold a press conference with the media and embarrass the organization, and that's going to put Jeannie Buss in the easiest spot. Bullshit. You didn't like what happened in that meeting, and you said, I'm going to embarrass Jeannie Buss, but I'm going to do it in a passive-aggressive way. Because really all Magic is, he's LeBron before LeBron when it comes to personality. He wants to act like he's so outgoing and this and that, but behind the scenes, he's a whole different person. And Magic is very petty, just like LeBron. He tries to act like he puts everybody first, just like LeBron, when really he puts himself first. And in order to make sure that he got his version of the story out, so that he could beat his sister to it, he decided to hold this awkward-ass press conference and lie his ass off.
Are you going to let him go?
Yeah, I was prepared to make that decision. And so, but, you know, it's...
But, you know, she told you no. That's what she told you. She didn't even want you to have the right to fire somebody that was going to end the fight anyway. And look at Rachel Nichols' face. Rachel Nichols is like, look at this pathetic-ass Negro. Rachel Nichols like, even I know Luke Walton's getting fired, Magic. Just like I know that Jeannie Buss fired you.
It was going to be tough for her because she loves him, loved me.
How many times you going to keep saying the same lie?
So, and I was already saying, you know what?
You know what? I can't really do shit. So I might as well go back home and help my son pick out his dresses and his pumps because he's going to the prom.
Really, Irvin? Are you really happy? Right?
So you was talking all that shit about the Lakers 2 years ago, and now you're talking about Irvin, are you really happy? You know what? You need to take your ass home, man.
So, when I decided...
Because right now, the only difference I see between you and your son is that your son at least is acting like a bitch on the outside. You know, you holding yours in.
Decided I wasn't. And so position like this. And so,
A position like what? What are you talking about? You didn't want to put her in a position like this. You embarrassed the whole organization, dude. The reason why you know you could do this is because you have so much money that you never have to work another day in your life. So even if you quit in the way that you're quitting, you're not worried about how it's going to affect your next job opportunity. Because now you're ready to just stay at home and just tweet all day like a 17-year-old. Great job, Russell Westbrook. Oh, Ben Simmons is really growing his game. Like, that's what you want to do all day? Can you imagine if they had Twitter or Snapchat back when Magic was in high school? That nigga would never made it to the NBA. He would have been on Snapchat all goddamn day.
this was the right move to make. And I've never been so relieved.
Really? I think when that HIV test came back as borderline negative, I think that you were a bit more relieved than you are today.
I can see it on your face. I mean, I've known you for decades, right?
Yep.
And I can see it on your face.
Yep.
And as you leave this organization, do you think Rob Pelinka should still be the general manager?
Yeah, I mean, he's in position. She brought us together. She picked him, and then she picked me. Right?
Did she really pick him? Or did Kobe Bryant pick him for her? And notice you're gone, Rob Pelinka stays. So that means Kobe Bryant and his decision making is more respected than yours. And to be quite frank with you, it should be. Because Kobe's about 10 times smarter than you. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him because he's a big snake. He tells you that himself. But he's definitely 10 times smarter than Magic.
Right? And so that's her decision to make moving forward. The only thing I want for her is to make sure whoever's in position that she vets them well and she can trust them and they become loyal to her. Because I don't want anybody to take advantage of Jeannie.
Sure you don't. Magic, let's be for real. You want Jeannie to fall on her face because she picked Rob Pelinka over you. You want to embarrass her, but in a passive-aggressive way, because she told you where you could go. She let you know that even though you came back to help her, she don't really need you, other than as the guy with the big placard over your head to advertise the store that you're standing out in front of. You realize that was your real role. Your role was not really to make personnel decisions. After a while, your role became more and more diminished as Rob Pelinka noticed that you were not ready to put in the legwork and do what was needed to be done for all the bullshit that you were talking on television.
Well, you were loyal to her. She knows that. You guys grew up together.
And I'm always be loyal. And also she could trust me.
Well, that was my next question.
Magic throwing them darts, boy. He's trying to let people know Rob Pelinka cannot be trusted. But according to the reputation that Rob Pelinka has, he's a real dirtbag. He's a real dirtbag. But Jeannie Buss seems to trust him, and that tells me that she trusts Kobe Bryant, because I have no doubt that Kobe Bryant is the one who helped her come to this decision. And once again, it comes down to who do you put all your money down with? Do you put your money down with someone who's cunning and subtle, like Kobe and Rob Pelinka? Or do you put your money down with someone who's not that swift, like Magic Johnson? You be the judge.
You mentioned when you were talking to the group that you were sick of the backstabbing. What did you mean?
Well,
A little bit. Give me.
You know, I'm just saying that Michael Myers has nothing on Rob Pelinka.
Give me a little bit.
No,
And it's incredible.
I can't, because that's not what we do here.
You just did it.
Do you feel it was within the organization, though?
It's around.
Okay.
It's around. And so then
Magic keep looking around like he expected somebody to jump out and stab him in the back right now.
then you have to then say things, and so when I go out, I always like to go out with class. And
Oh, you mean like now? Not calling your boss to let them know you're leaving? Holding a press conference and saying, hey, I'm out because there's backstabbers up in here? You think that that's classified as classy?
I'm going to go out that way. People who know what I'm talking about. but I enjoy my time working side by side with her. I mean, Jeannie is her.
Look, Magic Johnson has found out something that regular so-called black men have known for decades now. That being that corporate America is not for the so-called black man. This is the first time that Magic Johnson has probably had a real job. Like, I mean, a real job. I'm not talking about all that other shit. I'm talking about a real job in corporate America. And he realized that it's all about backstabbing and people trying to get over.
Her values are unbelievable.
Look at this broad here. This is Jeannie Buss. This broad is walking down. She's walking down the basketball court with platinum blonde hair with blue and red streaks in that bitch. Wow. And this is supposed to be the owner that everybody is scared to criticize. You notice that? Nobody wants to say anything bad about Jeannie Buss. Now, had this been her brother running the Lakers, everybody would say, what the hell is Jim Buss doing? That idiot. He's a complete clown and a fuck up. But now that they have a woman running the organization, they're trying to see who they could pass the blame on or pass the buck to. This chick right here looks like she's all set to head out to the club with Larsa Pippen and Kim Kardashian. See if she could snag a black man. And she's supposed to be the owner of the Lakers. Oh my God.
It's amazing. We as Laker fans and Lakers should.
And by the way, I've mentioned this in other videos. Jeannie Buss is a Monarch program sex kitten. Okay? Allegedly. But she's a Monarch programmed, beta program sex kitten who was passed to Phil Jackson. There are many photos that you can see of Jeannie Buss, still on the internet as a matter of fact, with her posing in the nude with 2 basketballs over her breasts, so on and so forth. They're trying to cast her as this great businesswoman. All she is a thotty who got sent to college. That's it.
I'm so happy she's in the position that she's in. And I didn't waver 1 minute. So I want her to be happy for me. That, you know.
Oh, bitch, please.
You know, this was a good decision for me.
You said that you were on a plane from Phoenix back here last night, and you started thinking, I think I want to do this. And then this morning,
prayed.
You prayed on it.
And God gave me the answer. Yep.
Here we go with that stuff. That God gave me the answer line. Stop trying to blame your nonsense on the Most High. It's like when Reggie White said God wanted him to sign with the Green Bay Packers. These dudes, they always using the Most High name to cover up for their nonsense and their stupidity.
And that's where I got my answer.
Yeah.
So I'm good. And I'm going to run tomorrow and feel real good. Anybody want to join me, but you got to join me at 5, though, a.m.
What do you want your parting message to Laker fans?
I mean, shit, you might as well just start your run right now. You're running away from the organization. What the hell you got to wait till 5 a.m. for? Start it right now. Just start running out the stadium.
I'm going
to be here. I mean, I'm going to be a Laker. I'm not leaving. I'm going to enjoy the playoffs.
Yeah, okay. Sure. You go ahead and try to get them courtside seats again. Watch what happens to your ass.
Oh, shoot. And now I get to go to the game.
You can go to playoff games.
Yeah.
And talk to anyone
and I get to tweet what I want. And I get fined. And say what I want.
60-year-old man talking about how he wants to tweet.
That is actually the last thing I wanted to ask you. There has been some concern within people who cover and around the NBA that we want the legends of the game like you, like Larry Bird, who was working with Indiana, to be in these organizations, right? To work with the teams, to be the presidents of basketball operations, to be general managers or coaches. But then you can't talk to or comment on the younger players of the game. Do you think that tampering rules have to be loosened a little bit?
This is Rachel Nichols. This is one of her main platforms, that the NBA should get rid of tampering. And that's normal, modern-day liberal woman bullshit. It's basically the equivalent of believing that you can get married to a man and still be able to flirt with other men. No, it doesn't work like that.
People like you can be involved in the NBA, but can also talk to and be an example for young players?
Yeah, I think the Milwaukee fine was silly.
No, it wasn't silly. You were talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's their main asset. And everyone knows that for a while now, major market teams have been trying to poach the top assets from small market teams. It's the equivalent of a millionaire, like the movie Indecent Proposal, Robert Redford, thinking that he could buy Woody Harrelson's girlfriend, Demi Moore. No, you can't do that. Okay? You have to keep your mouth shut. You have your own assets. Talk about your own team. Stop talking about the next person's team.
Just outright stupid. And here I am saying this young man was great for the city. The city's been great for him. The ownership was outstanding and is outstanding. And so I would just compliment him and as well as the organization.
You said that he was going to win it.
Keep his name out your mouth, bro. If you want to compliment somebody, compliment Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball and the players on your team. That's what you need to worry about.
The title there.
Yeah. And I look.
Hey, I just want to tell you, your wife got a fat ass and big titties. Why you getting mad for? I'm just complimenting her.
That team is really good.
Could happen.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I mean, it's just some of the things. It just, to me, it's not right. But I'm gonna be a part of it. I just love now, Rachel. I get to be a part how I was before.
Can I make you a job offer?
What's that?
On television?
Well, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we got the show called The Jump
Okay.
on ESPN.
And I know it very well.
I think you should come on.
I will.
Sit next to Tracy McGrady, me, and
I'm
Scottie
on-
Pippen.
It's a guarantee from the Magic, man. I'm gonna come on and have some fun.
There we go. See you.
That's pretty much all your life has been about, bro. That's why you couldn't handle the serious aspect of running a team. Because you don't like rules. We know that already. That's how you've gotten in trouble for most of your life, not liking rules. You know, like rule number 1, wear a condom. You didn't like that rule. That's why you got caught up in that bullshit from the start. At the end of the day, there have to be protocols when it comes to teams and what their property is. And people might not like the use of that term property. But once you sign a player to a contract, that basically is what he is. Anytime you sign a contract, you become contractually obligated to fulfill the terms of that contract. And no, you should not be talking about someone else's assets.
You've already got your next gig lined up.
And I'm free right now. The first time I'll be free.
This nigga talking like he Kunta Kinte. Hugging Rachel Nichols. He came in for that hug and said, I'm free for a lot of things. Like the back seat of my car. Meet me in 15 minutes. Don't bring any protection.
I don't even know where to begin, but you know Magic Johnson as well as I think anyone. 40 years you have been having conversations with this man. Again, the OG. What was your reaction to seeing him there? Because you said to me, you were on an actual plane last night when all this happened.
Yeah.
And then you got off the plane and you saw this interview compared to the group thing, and you said you could tell he was more relaxed
I saw that
here.
first. Well, I've also spent some time with Magic during the whole trade can't happen thing. That person was a executive. That is Magic Johnson. There's a difference.
Of course. You know the difference. You go back with him 40 years. So you was at some of the orgies and all the freak fests.
And yeah, this is, yes, my first interactions with Magic were 40 years ago. Not 14.
Yeah, back 40 years ago. And y'all had 40 bitches that night.
40. So I mean, I have some sense of sort of when he is at his happiest. That was relieved. He was happy. Look, you can disagree with what Magic did. You can disagree with the way he did it. He is never, to my knowledge, been disingenuous. When? The man's entire life, 40 of his soon-to-be 60 years, sorry, Evan, have played out in public. Right? On the biggest stages, smiles, tears, I mean, heartbreak, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. All of this has played out. That's who he is. Now, you can try to make this Game of Thrones if you want. And people.
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is, Michael Wilbon. When you're at that level and you're in the entertainment industry, it's about who's going to cover whose ass, who's going to be smarter. Magic thought that because he was the most prominent Laker ever, or arguably the most prominent Laker ever, because I do believe that Kobe has surpassed him in Laker lore. Even though Magic is the greatest Laker of all time, Kobe has surpassed him in Laker lore. He thought that was going to allow him his status. He thought that his status on the Lakers was going to allow him a certain amount of room and space to have power, to execute. And no. You have the right to be the #1 fan of the team. That's it.
And people maybe in our business are invested in that. Here's what it really means, and here's what's going to... He wants to be Magic. He wants to be the guy he's been. He wants to go to games. He probably wants to say, I know he wants to say what he wants to say on television, and not just on the phone to a few of us. So, this is where he is. Is it great for the Lakers? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The Lakers had a lot of challenges, and those challenges remain, right? Maybe even greater challenges. But you know what?
Look at LeBron dumbass standing there with Magic and Rob Pelinka like he another GM. And then get mad when people call him a general manager of the team. No, I have nothing to do with the player decisions. I just like to stand with the general managers because that make me feel special.
But you know what? Magic Johnson turning 60, maybe 60 is a new 50. And he don't need to go out and buy a sports car. I'm sure he's got several of those. Yeah. He has some options. And he can say to himself and to everyone else, you know what? This isn't what I thought it was going to be. I'm going to do this because I can. And he has options. Most people don't even know the options he has. I know some of them. I don't even know all of them. So I think
Magic is always going to have a lot of options because of his personality. So doors are always going to be open for him.
So I think that was Magic Johnson as he wants to be. It was closer to the guy that I've known for 40 years and you've known for 20. And I guess I sound a little annoyed because I am in that. And I'm not annoyed at Magic for not knowing. None of us have ever entered into an endeavor, an enterprise, an agreement, and it wasn't exactly what we thought it was. I know I have.
What, your first marriage?
So he, if
You don't have to air our dirty laundry. No, I'm kidding.
if he did that,
You ain't kidding. That's how you got on ESPN. That's exactly how your ass got on ESPN. You had to service his PNIS.
he did that. I mean, so I don't want to hear anybody in our business,
Yes.
people who have their own free agency and movements, act as if they stick to every single thing they do and never have doubts.
Okay, so first of all, I want to paint a picture of the people who weren't there, because I was there, Reggie, you were there. Michael, this is what it looked like. You remember in the end of first Iron Man, where they're supposed to have a press conference, Pepper Potts has set it up, and Tony Stark's what's coming on. He's like, I'm not Iron Man, it's just a crazy rumor, whatever. And he gets up at the podium and he says, I'm Iron Man. And everyone's like, what? And all the cameras, that's exactly what I was like. And I'm resigning. And everyone's like, what? They all just kind of stood up even more on the tippy toes and leaned in. And then he goes for 40 minutes, which was like, it was a lot. But the things that caught me, I remember thinking, wow, this is happening. One was, he didn't tell Jeannie, he didn't tell LeBron, he didn't tell Rob, he didn't tell Cookie, he didn't tell his wife. And I thought to myself, because he said, I've been thinking about...
Right, but what's new? Cookie's on need-to-know basis. I mean, she probably was the last one to find out the man had HIV. The man... Since when has he ever respected Cookie?
Thinking about this for a while, how incredibly lonely must that feel? To have this emotion and this feeling...
Or liberating?
No, but up until that moment, the loneliness of, I can't share this burden with anybody, not even...
Let me say this. Jeannie Buss is scared to death of this dude, Steve Ballmer. She's scared to death of this dude. She's scared to death, period, because of what her father built. And she's scared that it's going to fall, it's going to slip right through her fingers, and everybody's going to blame her. So expect her to get very desperate very soon. This guy, Steve Ballmer, has over $40 billion to play with. You cannot beat him in the long money game.
Not even my wife, right? But then the other part of it is the reading between the lines, which, of course, we all love to do, right? So when asked, is Rob the man for the job? And he kind of said, that's Jeannie's move, or Jeannie's choice. Well, of course it's Jeannie's choice, but if Rob was your guy, I feel like you would have, even regardless of whether they would have ended up with him having a job or not, he would have said something like, Rob's great, Rob's done a great job. He just said, it's Jeannie's choice.
He can't stand Rob Pelinka. It's very obvious.
He kind of said, my name's Bennett, and I ain't in it. And I think that speaks volumes. And you have to, and then he goes on to talk about how other people in the league, other agent friends of his, have not had the best relationship with Rob. Like, I didn't understand him bringing that point up.
No, the point of him bringing that up is to help you understand why he's falling out with Rob Pelinka. Okay, you said that Magic was like, my name's Bennett, I'm not in it. No, he said, my name's Mitch, and I can't stand that bitch.
Other than, maybe that relationship is frayed.
Yeah,
No way.
I mean, I thought that was very notable, and the fact that he started to go into it and then he backed off of it, and you heard him say just there in that piece, hey, I'm going to keep it classy, that sort of thing. That's a thread that's still out there that I'm interested in how that pulls out. The fact that he did not talk to Jeannie face to face is something we will also talk about.
He didn't talk to her.
A little bit.
I thought when he
Right.
first started talking, I thought he just, like, he told her over the phone, and he said, "No, I couldn't say
No.
it."
I mean, I'm the one who asked the question because
That was his way, once again, of showing the media in an indirect way, I'm crying out. I've been going through a lot over the past year and change to 2 years. I have not been respected over the past 2 years, so I'm going to disrespect the people who've been disrespecting me. That was a cry out by Magic Johnson.
Because as he was, I was like, wait, you didn't talk. I felt bad interrupting him. I was just like, wait, you didn't talk to her? And he was like, nope, I'm talking to
No, I didn't talk to a bitch. Let me finish, okay? It's unbelievable.
y'all first.
She has the shrillest voice in the media scrum. I was all the way in the back, and I could hear Rachel.
Not shrill, it's
I couldn't
loud.
see her. I
It's
could not see her.
authoritative.
But I heard
It's
a voice just
booming.
come
Let me ask a
out.
quick follow-up question about Rob Pelinka. We all hear things about what agents feel and what other executives feel, and we don't know where this is going. I mean, if we start talking about the questions confronting the Lakers a day after Magic's announcement, isn't that the first question?
Well, we're going to get to that. I was going to say, so this is there is so much. You know, we're not just going to talk about this once. Ramona Shelburne's going to stop by and pull some of these threads with us.
Ramona Shelburne, a.k.a. Miss Piggy. You know what's so funny about Ramona Shelburne? The day before Magic Johnson, quote-unquote, announced that he was stepping down from the Lakers, Ramona Shelburne had reported that Magic Johnson had not spoken to Luke Walton for over a month. And then all of a sudden, the next day, Magic Johnson steps down. Ain't that a bitch? Now, could it be that Jenny Buss saw that same episode that I saw and decided that she was going to nip it in the bud and call Magic Johnson and let him know that she did not approve? But I remember seeing that, and then the next day Magic Johnson stepped down. I'm like, wow, Okay, so now here's going to be Ramona Shelburne detailing the fact that Luke Walton and Magic Johnson had not spoken in weeks prior to Magic Johnson deciding to step down.
You need the Lakers need to have a coach that has a cohesion with the front office, and Jeannie Buss has made it very clear that she is going to let Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka make this final decision. So,
allegedly. Now, of course, this interaction, when I say this interaction, I'm talking about the question that was asked to Ramona Shelburne by Amin Elhassan and Rachel Nichols. This took place the day before Magic Johnson stepped down. So Ramona Shelburne actually believed that Magic Johnson had the power to speak to Luke Walton and evaluate how well he had performed that season. Obviously, Magic Johnson did not have that power.
So she's letting her basketball people make the basketball decision. Luke Walton and Magic Johnson have not spoken for weeks.
I want you to repeat that when there's not video
This
rolling.
is why I let Ramona talk first, ladies and gentlemen.
If they if they don't have that working relationship to the point where it's been weeks since you've had a meaningful conversation,
Say it again to the people, please.
Luke Walton and Magic Johnson have not spoken for weeks. That's a problem.
No, that's not a problem. That's a harbinger, or it was a harbinger for the destruction of Magic Johnson. That's all it was. It's like someone who's not speaking to their significant other, and they think that it's something that's going to pass, when in all reality, the reason why your significant other is also not speaking to you as they see that you're not speaking to them is because they're already prepared to move on to the next. Magic Johnson thought that he was going to play this game with Luke Walton because he had Luke Walton dangling by a follicle of his hair. And in all reality, it was Magic Johnson who was going to be cut off. But anyway,